Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Tech Productions. Today, Bankrupt joins game by Jimmy.
Yeah.
And it's just Jimmy, no one else. So this will be a very fun back and forth conversation. Today's matchup is me versus Jimmy. I brought back Krillin Stormfist because I was helping no one remember Dark, but I was helping our buddy Dark move. And Jimmy brought
I,
Whis out, which I think
I remember Dart.
I think we joked about you bringing Whis out last week, and wasn't expecting you to have it. Like, hey, I got it. I'm like, all right, cool. Which is a very interesting matchup. I feel like Whis is a very good aggro, and the way I play my variant of Krillin is a little bit more defensive, then crack back. So it should be a pretty interesting matchup. There's buttons, there's stuff in the descriptions. Check them out. Let's get into it. Do you like
Uh,
the new cards?
the new cards are fantastic. They do kind of make me change the way that I previously played Whis, where these cards are more geared towards just turn cardboard sideways at your opponent, where some of the older promos were kind of like weird hybrids of that, where it's like there's the Wee Sweet Gathering that makes so your opponent can't attack your leader if you have two skillesses in play, which would help cushion turns and you could make bigger actions um, uh, and not be punished. Uh, and then like this new Gohan from the anniversary box, uh, he is just almost replaces the 2-drop blue yellow angel god cards, whatever from whatever fucking set.
Set
With a
16.
set 16. I still love those cards, and I do run a one of just because I cannot not run it because it's beautiful. But if you don't know what this card does, it warps. You bottom deck one, and then you warp two skillesses with different names. And then at the end of your opponent's next turn, you add one to your hand, play the other. And then it has the ability to activate main, give your leader card the skill, uh, all your skillless battle cards gain barrier, which makes them non-skilllesses. Um, so you do have to think about when you're going to activate it, which you usually just want to activate it at the end of your turn, because there's not really anything in the archetype that interacts with skillless cards on your side of the field on your opponent's turn. Um, but if you just start off your turn by activating it, you're kind of going to be in a bad position because now you can't utilize your Beerus to restand them or anything of that nature. But I we joked about it last week that I was going to bring Whis. Whis is just one of my pet decks that I just always kind of have setting in my graveyard of decks, but I make sure I keep it sleeved at all times instead of sleeving it and just throwing cards in a random box and forgetting about them. Every couple of sets, I'll come back to Whis and play around, figure out what I can do with the new yellow cards, and see if I can make it work. Uh, so it wasn't too much work putting this deck together. I don't think this build is super optimal, utilizing like the Gohan and utilizing stuff like Z Energy, especially. Not once the entire night I played a single Z battle card.
You mentioned in your profile where you get to a point where it's not really worth comboing cards off because, or sorry, when you combo them off, putting them in your Z energy because of Vados' auto, which allows you to combo with them from your drop.
Mhm.
And
I mean, what once you get your just couple of cards that you need in the drop area you could probably start comboing off at that point. Uh, but I never felt the need to go into a Z battle card. Um, I think there's a build of this deck that utilizes stuff like the 3-drop pan that pairs with the Gohan archetype. Um, I think there's a build of that would be very potent. Um, and I just need to sit down and figure it out. But this is a rough build of the deck. We do have a profile for it, but I suggest that if you do have any interest in it and you watch the profile, to make your own changes and play around with the deck and see what you can come up with and tune it to your locals, because I think this is a rogue deck for your local meta, not so much a deck that's just good because it's good, like many other decks.
before changing pace, I did realize when I was editing the profile, I noticed that the one thing you did change, and because this Gohan was Pan's dad, not Pan, sorry, Chi Chi's father, Ox King.
Ox King, yeah.
Used to run that, and you would play two of those and create kind of like an ultimate barrier card for all your
Mhm.
cards. And yeah, this Gohan pretty much replaces that and does it so much better because you fish those cards
Mhm.
out, get them to your hand, you play one. It's so good.
Yeah, the Ox King does give barrier to the 3 drops because it gives it to all 3 or less yellows. Um, but the Gohan has better synergy with the archetype itself. And I
Yes.
think if I do have a revised build, I'm going to focus far more on the skillless battle cards instead of using the skillless battle cards as a way to get myself into the 3 drops. Um, just because of this Gohan giving them barrier, which is just fantastic. And also, since it gives it to your leader, you like can't remove that skill from your leader outside of just negating the whole leader card skills. Where with Ox King, you would have to see 2 of them. You would have to tap 2 energy to give everything barrier, but you do get the giving everything barrier part. Um,
So, kind of pivoting to what's happened so far, I mentioned in the beginning the way I play Krillin is a defensive Din crackback, for the exception of early games. This Piccolo is just too good not to just play for 2 energy. It fishes a card on my deck. The card that I play will draw me a card. And Stormfist on itself, once you awaken, you're drawing 2 cards every turn just because the leader, 1 on the attack and 1 for every your turn. So just having other ways, just getting more and more cards in my hand is great. And after turn 3 is when I start to pivot to be a more defensive play. But like I said, this pickle is just too good not to just pay 2 for. It's 220Ks. And I haven't played against Whis in such a long time. And I did focus a lot on your unison. And the thought process there is it allows him to get free combos out of the drop. So if I kill any card, it's coming back for no energy at all, just because I chose to swing at you between both Vados and the leader's auto. And I was like, okay, if he established another one to be 2 energy, that's fine. I will say, after I took care of it, I thought about it in the match, and I was like, that might have been a mistake. Only because I recall playing you in the past and you completely mentioning like, oh yeah, Vados is lightning rod. I'm perfectly fine for people swinging into it.
that is my I guess my dirty little secret in Dragon Ball is that if I'm playing a unison, 9 times out of 10, it's just to make my opponent swing into it because they're scared of the unison. Um, which, while if the unison sticks around, I do get massive, massive, massive value off of this Vados. This Vados is crazy good for the archetype. Um, but in a lot of times, I'm fine with my opponent attacking into my unison because, in a way, it almost gives me a free turn. I see it. I usually see unisons as a preemptive floodgate, and that's kind of just for our locals, really. Outside of that, like most people are not uh, too vexed on attacking into a unison, unless it's a very powerful unison and they know they need to get rid of it. But at our locals, it seems like as soon as I put a unison down, people just like turning cards sideways into it.
We have
Uh,
we have 2 players who are known for that actually, and I have in the past also done that where I'm like, if I'm playing against those 2 people, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna play unison because it's like 1 to 2 negates because you're not attacking into my leader, you're attacking into a unison, which I've already gotten the value for that card now. It's already served its purpose. It's no different than you swing into a battle card almost. Like if I pay 2 energy for a battle card, got 1 swing out, all right, cool. I'm paying 2 energy for a unison. I'm getting a swing. I'm getting extra resources from that unison. It did what it needed. If you want to waste time, energy to it, go right ahead. And I, like I said, on your first one, I went into it because I was like, oh, that's just a really strong unison for this deck. I can't work. I cannot have you on that. I cannot have you have that. And then you played the second one, and that's when I'm like, I don't need to be wasting my time and energy on it. So from here on out, I'm like just targeting your leader because I feel like if I keep on trying to focus on the unison at this point, like I said, it's all coming back how you play Whis. And I was like, if I keep focusing on the unison, you're just gonna get a bigger, bigger board as time goes on. And at some point, I'm not gonna be able to deal with that.
and I we talked a lot about, like, I was completely fine with removing the unison, and I could have made a really big turn with just my board. But you playing that Android 17, while I do have like a few cards that I can expend, I didn't want to put myself in a risky situation in case you had a follow-up counter. Um, so to maximize that turn, I was like, I'll just put out another unison. If he wants to remove it, that's completely fine. If not, then I will just set on it for a couple turns and see what it can do for me. Um, and it was really surprising when you just hard passed. Like I was really scared when you laid that fourth energy, and I was like, okay, like I know this deck can do some stuff. Like, what is he gonna do now? And then you pass, and I'm like, oh shit.
And this is where I like to, from here on out, play during my opponent's turn and do things like that. So here I go ahead and establish. I have the 3 Z energies. So I'm able to play SS Rose to the board. I get rid of your problematic card that has crit and it's just pop my barrier cards. And now I have a 20k double strike on board. The options was literally this, or I tap 1, I think for, it was either for the counterplay Zamasu, or I tap 1 to combo with the 8-drop Kalfa just to arrive with the other Kalfa. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And here you see, I don't have a lot of options in my hand, and I don't want to combo. I think I just have 2 of the Kalfas, and I don't have any other way of comboing a blue yellow card out to get that card on the board. And thinking back on it, I may add some Saiyan Instincts into this deck just to have some extra yellow combo power, and they could be used for draw power. So you see, like, I don't like passing with 4-bit energy, but didn't have a successful way of playing that card on the board and potentially protecting myself from all your attacks, and that's why I went ahead and used the Sense Beam as well. But having the Goku Vegeta minus the energy comes in really handy on some of your attacks, or if you choose to actually combo up on some of your attacks, getting an extra 10k out of it is pretty nice.
Mhm. So this Vegeta, if you don't know what he does, he's a double striker. If my opponent activates a counter, he gets to restand, which there's kind of the opposite version of that card in my energy. It's a new promo, who is a blocker. When you, the Whis player, activates a counter, you get to restand him and then rest one of your opponent's battle cards, which again puts me back into this weird thing of like, some promos promote the aggro variant, while cards like this promote the more standoffish, control the game, and then play a boss monster on like turn 5. Um, this card alone makes me think that Ox King might be still worth running, because giving this card barrier would be huge, because all night, spoiler alert, that shit just got popped every single time I put it out. But I do love the card. I think it's a fantastic addition to the deck. I don't think you should not run it. I have it at a 2 of in the list right now, and I think that's perfect.
So I use a super combo on that last attack real quick. You were only 20k. I'm at 20k. Having a 5k combo would have been a lot better. I didn't have that Gohan at the time, or I could have comboed with that, and then I think it's 3 energy do its effect or something like that. But all the cards in my hand are either extra cards or 1k 10 1 energy 10ks, and I needed searching. And then after I drew those 2 cards, I didn't want to charge any cards that were in my hand, and I was forced to charge another of these Gohan rares, which felt really bad doing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also why I haven't made a profile for this deck, because there's a lot of tweaks I still need to do to it.
So just for camera purposes, and also for just because I wanted to utilize this Vegeta, I really wanted to block here and then just hope that you don't combo up to try to kill him. And then Forbidden Power on the next attack, which would not have been optimal. You want to Forbidden Power and use those your opponent gets to attack one more time type floodgates on the first attack of the turn. So it kind of put me, I think, of like, maybe I should have swung with that Vegeta so I could actually get the restand and be able to tap down something, but you only had 1 battle card in the field, so I wouldn't get the tap down. Um, but I mean, Kefla come down, I was just gonna tap it down anyway. Um,
Yeah, you I remember in this situation, I was like, "Are you going to block?" And you were like, "Ah," and you felt like like you said, you wasted that timing because you don't get to restand it because it's already in active mode. And the auto, it's not one of those things like if you do you get this go for turn, it's just like it happens.
Yeah,
And
it's a limit one. It has to activate on the first counter you activate.
good old Unison help you out here. Tapping on your energy so you can't like have another negate or something to stop this.
Mhm.
And at least Evil is such a good card.
That card is incredible, and like it has such good synergy, especially with this Vegeta. Like being able to activate a free counter, where release people does not stop the attack, you will still get to block with Vegeta, which is just huge. Like uh, it just feels really good in this particular deck.
So I'm going after your other Vegeta because
Mhm.
I know going into your next turn can be very dangerous for me. And I need to either maybe get rid of some cards in your hand or try to get rid of it because if I activate the gate, like you said earlier, it's just going to restand. So now I have to
Mhm.
play around that Vegeta. I didn't have a lot to combo with or a lot that I was willing to combo with.
Mhm.
And in hindsight, as I was talking about before on the previous turn, where I had all that open energy during your turn, I could have paid one for the combo off of Kelfa at the time because I didn't have any other blue yellow cards to rival the other Kefla
Mhm.
and snipe out your Gohan. Or I could have sniped out your Gohan. I don't think your Gohan has deflect. I think sorry, he has deflect. He doesn't have barrier. So I could have sniped it with Rose instead,
Mhm.
and maybe done a little bit extra combo to get past the crit hit. And then on my turn, you would have no barrier, and I could have successfully just paid 3Z energy and 3 energy. I think it's 3 energy for
Mhm.
Cell, and just took your whole board from you. And I think
Mhm.
I realized that like a turn too late.
Uh, So just for fun, because I don't have Gohan Piccolo or a better yellow secret rare. I was running Celzino in this list before, uh, but I decided, you know what, I got the card. Shout out to our homie Matt. Much love to Matt for hooking me up with the Super Mira. But I was like, it's yellow. I'm never gonna play this in another deck. I'll play it, and it actually kind of surprised me on how well this card performed like all night. It is not the most optimal secret rare, especially for yellow, but for the price that it's at, like shit, like it's a good secret rare if you don't want to play like something like Super 17, um, which is also around like the $30 price mark. Like I think it's a really solid secret rare for budget builds.
Against almost any other deck, um, that would have been a very optimal play because I'm playing blue. I just Dimension
Mhm.
Magic one time and get my 2 energy back. But like any other color, you tap down both their energy, they're dead practically, especially with a board
Mhm.
like that. So I had I misread the 17 and thought it was battle cards and leader cards for the
Mhm.
penalty. And I'm really kicking myself in the ass right now at this point. And I think I even said on like when we were playing, I'm like, I fucked up. I did the out of order. I have a Dimension Magic in my hand. I could have instead Dimension Magic, take the life reset into 2 energy, and then pay 2 energy for the blocker negate, and just had
Mhm.
3 forms of negates instead of 2 forms of negates in the situation. So I'm forced to block this attack, and now you have 1 open attack. I have no energy, unless I want to just kill myself, which in most times we just do that for fun. We take our own life when it comes to the card game.
In Minecraft.
In Minecraft, yes. And here
Yeah.
I'm just saying, combo here, you got it. Because you started coming, I'm like, nah, you got it, good job. And this is where I'm kind of explaining, I messed up the order of like what I did. But hey, that happens, you know? Yay, card games. Thanks for tuning in. Keep in mind, there's buttons down below. There's stuff in the description. Check them out. Bye.